I'd like to call this meeting of the Peoria Planning and Zoning Commission to order. I want to welcome everybody attending tonight's meeting, and we're going to begin with a roll call tonight. Commissioner Clay Alsop is absent. Commissioner Joanna Condi?
Here.
Commissioner Linda Grace?
Here.
Commissioner Brian Patterson is absent. Secretary Jay Otluski?
Yes.
Alternate Commissioner John Albright?
Present.
And I, Vice Chair Jeff Nelson, am present. I'd like to read an opening statement that we begin all meetings with. This commission is composed of Peoria citizens who have been appointed by the City Council to serve on the commission as a civic responsibility without compensation. Our duty is to study and review planning and zoning issues within the City of Peoria. The commission hears zoning cases, holds public hearings, or may conduct a study session on a topic. Decisions made by the commission are forwarded as written recommendations to the City Council, who take final action. All hearings are conducted in accordance with the rules for procedures and Robert's Rules of Order. Each case will be called in the order in which it appears on the agenda unless otherwise announced during the meeting. In the interest of maintaining a fair and efficient hearing, the commission adheres to the following steps. Chair will open the case. City staff will then provide a brief report and recommendation. The applicant is then invited to give a presentation. Then any member of the public may provide testimony. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes. When we call your name, please come up to the podium, provide your name and address. After all the testimony has been taken, we will invite the applicant back up to provide any rebuttal or final statements, and then the commission will discuss the case and make its decision. Anyone wishing to speak must complete a speaker's request form and hand it to the commission assistant on my left. Please be brief as possible and do not repeat statements already made by others. Any member of the public may appeal to the City Council any decision of the commission regarding a conditional use permit. The appeal must be submitted in writing to the Planning and Community Development Department within 15 calendar days of the date of the commission's decision. All commission recommendations on public hearing items, including general plan amendments, rezone, zoning code amendments, and special plans, move forward to a regular City Council meeting. The City Council will then act on the recommendation of the commission. The City Council may concur with the decision, modify it, overturn it, or remand it back to the commission for further consideration. Of course, we welcome citizens' comments, and as fellow citizens of Peoria, we thank you in advance for your participation. This is the final call to submit speaker request forms. If anyone wishes to speak, please fill out a speaker request form and provide it to Ms. Ernest seated at the end of the dais. Next, we're going to move on to consent agenda. The consent agenda is for items that are routine in nature and consist of one item tonight. Item 1C, I believe is the name. Discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on February 1st, 2018. Do any commissioners have any questions or comments about the agenda? The consent agenda item, I should say, before we act on that tonight? Nope. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Condi. Thank you. Please vote. And it's unanimous. Thank you, Commissioners. We're now ready to move on to our regular agenda. We have one item under new business, item 2R. Case number Z17-18, Trenton Park. This is a request to rezone approximately 9.58 acres from general agricultural to Trenton Park Planned Area Development, or PAD, which would allow the development of up to 38 homes at a density of 3.97 dwelling units per acre. The property is located north of the 99th Avenue and Olive Avenue intersection. Staff, please present your report.
Good evening, Vice Chair Nelson, Commissioners. Tonight I'll be presenting rezoning case Z17-18 Trenton Park. Bowman Consulting has submitted this request to rezone a 9.58 acre parcel from general agricultural, better known as ag, to planned area development, PAD, to allow a 38 lot single family detached residential development. The applicant is also requesting a waiver from the 10 acre minimum required for PAD zoning. The property is located north of 99th and Olive Avenue intersection, with the Peoria Firehouse number 4 to the west, New River to the north, and Rio Estate subdivision to the east. The general plan designates the land use for the subject property as medium-density residential, which allows 5 to 8 dwelling units per acre with a target of 6 units per acre. The density of the proposed development is 3.97 dwelling units per acre, which falls below the range for medium-density residential. The general plan does allow a residential density to fall one designation lower than the existing land use designation without amending the general plan land use map. In this case, low-density residential is one step lower than medium and allows for 2 to 5 dwelling units per acre with a target of 3, which the proposed development falls within. The low-density residential land use is also more appropriate for this area due to the Rio Estate subdivision to the east having a density of 3.97 dwelling units per acre, and New River Ranch to the north, which has 4.54 dwelling units per acre. As for the zoning of the subject site, the general agricultural zoning district is simply a holding district for property until it's time to develop. The surrounding zoning districts of the existing subdivisions to the north and east are R16, with the firehouse zoned R18 to the west, and an undeveloped property in Maricopa County zoned RU43 to the south. According to the general plan and the zoning ordinance, a planned area development shall be between 10 to 600 acres in size. The minimum acreage can be waived if it's in the public's best interest and if at least one specific condition listed on the slide exists on the property. Staff does believe granting this waiver is in the best interest of the public because it will enable the development of the parcel in a manner that is compatible with the surrounding area. The proposed density is less than what is allowed with medium-density residential, largely due to the irregularity of the parcel shape, along with trying to meet all development standards such as retention, open space, access, etc. The property has sat vacant for 25 years while development to the east and west have flourished, and the use of the PAD concept will encourage the development of this small, oddly shaped lot while continuing the character of the area. The proposed development standards consist of a minimum lot area of 5,175 square feet, a lot width of 45 feet, and a lot depth of 115 feet. The lot sizes range from 5,175 square feet to 8,088 square feet. The development standards closely align with Peoria's R16 development standards, which is also the zoning district for the surrounding subdivisions. The usable open space will consist of open turf areas with amenities that include a ramada, benches, play structure, and pedestrian connection to New River. The large turf area to the southwest portion of the development will have 2 soccer fields that consist of soccer goals that are weather resistant and movable, which will be maintained by the HOA. The primary project entry is full access to Olive Avenue, which has 2 lanes in each direction and a center dual turn lane. The developer will construct a right turn lane to include a 6-foot sidewalk and right-of-way landscaping along the north side of Olive Avenue. The secondary entrance is a 20-foot wide stabilized gravel connection for emergency access only. Noticing was completed as outlined in the zoning ordinance and as stated above. Neither staff or the applicant have received any supporting or opposing correspondence from the public concerning this case. The neighborhood meeting was attended by the applicant's team, city staff, and Councilmember Leone. The key findings in this case have been met. Staff asks that you recommend approval to the City Council for case Z17-18 Trenton Park. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you for your report. Do any commissioners have any questions of Ms. Faustina? Oh, excuse me, Commissioner Condi, you were there and you disappeared. Do you want to speak?
Okay. Well, I am looking at the schematic where you have the lots outlined and they are next to the lots next door. And you can see that the lots are substantially smaller than the ones that are labeled. For example, look at lots 19, 18, 17, and then compare them to 17, 18, and 19 next door. They're much smaller. That's number one. Two, this would give, I did a schematic of my own to show that there would only be, even though your pictures are very nice, the problem I see is, and I have seen many, many, many houses like this. These are long, narrow houses with an entry that ends up with a 10 to 15 foot wide living room that becomes a hall. And they end up, the setbacks are such, if you have 50%, you have barely enough room to have a truck in the front yard, a front parking area, and it hangs over the sidewalk. They end up being too close to, like if you have them back up to Olive, you have a little green belt area here, but the noise is terrible. There's not enough room in the backyard for a tree. These are houses that people see if they're two-story. They think they can hand a cup of coffee outside one window to another, to the house next door. And no, I absolutely can't approve of this. I've seen too many of these, and they sell to begin with because they're not terribly expensive, and then the neighborhoods often go downhill. Yes, you have a homeowners association, but that also ends up being a stumbling block to purchase. There's just one thing after another with this kind of usage. I don't feel it fits with the neighborhood next door. I think the lot should be bigger. I can't approve it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners have any comments or questions? I'm going to open the public hearing. Is the applicant present? And do you wish to speak? Please state your name and address for the record, if you would, please.
Good evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. My name is Carolyn Oberholzer. I'm with the law firm of Bergen Frakes, Smalley and Oberholzer at 4343 East Camelback. Cut the name out, not the road. I am here tonight on behalf of Garrett Walker Homes, and Rick Tarian of Garrett Walker is here, as well as Joe Cable, our project engineer. And Jennifer, are you able to launch that presentation that I have? Just to follow up, response to Commissioner Condi's comments, a few items that might be helpful. Do I have a slide clicker? Thank you. So Garrett Walker Homes specializes in finding infill parcels that have long been vacant in infill areas, and they develop those parcels into communities that they've languished for a number of years for any given reason. You can look at Olive and see examples of that for them. They have Olive Park that is almost finished, and Townley Park, which is under construction now. One of their first projects in Peoria was Grand Manor, and they've built in Peoria Village and Casa del Rey, and they're a quality Arizona home builder. And when they are, next, there we go. One of the interesting things about this property is that, what am I doing? Need Lori to save me. 2 slides forward, please. Okay, that one, perfect. So we dropped in our land plan into an aerial so that you could see the context of the area. And you see how, this is a totally bizarre shaped piece of property. One of the development standards that the PAD establishes is an additional lot depth. Commissioner Condi pointed out the lots next door, and those lots are 100 feet deep. These lots will have a minimum of 100-foot depth. And it's very important for Garrett Walker Homes in our communities to do 115 feet of depth as the minimum, because we want to make sure that people have room for usable backyards and pools. Something that this project also accommodates is 15%, just shy of 15%, it's 14.9 of usable open space, and we get to 20% open space when you factor in the retention areas. So 15%, 4 little parks, 38 lots. This is probably as viable of a land use plan with the development costs as you could have here. And we did have a number of meetings with staff, and we went through other possible layouts. And this was something that we came to as a group and determined it met all the engineering standards and the city's robust design standards. This project in the elevations in the P80 also establishes the D, E, and F elevations for Garrett Walker Homes. Those are their elevated design. There will be 6 plans. The P80 establishes this. This is the benefit of a P80. You can require. We have 6 plans with 3 elevations each. There will be 18 different homes possible in this small community of 38. Each of those has its own color palette as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any further questions. We do have a preliminary plat pending with the city. We'd love to be under construction this summer, and we're here if you have anything more.
Great, thank you. We do have a question from Commissioner Otluski. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, more than anything, just make a statement, a couple of them first, that, thank you for thinking of Peoria and infilling. We appreciate Garrett Walker considering us for that. And this lot is a very strange situation. I had to chuckle earlier when Jennifer said that this lot's been empty for 25 years. I think it's been several million years.
Since the beginning of time.
I just had to say that. With saying that, I think that one thing that we sometimes look for is more affordable housing. Peoria is tending to rise at a high rate, which then does take and stop people from purchasing homes. So to do what you're doing here with this, I think is to be applauded. And if we went larger, my feeling is that Garrett Walker would have to raise prices to overcome that, because there is a cost and there is a profit that they want to make. So I like the plan. I think that, I can agree that there's going to be some limitations for homeowners, but they'll go in eyes wide open. And I think that with the parks they've put in, this should be a really good addition to the city.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from any other commissioners or comments? Go ahead. Commissioner Khan, did you want to speak?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I understand the need for infill. I understand that this is an awkward parcel. I've driven by it for 30 years. But a lot of the things were vacant back then, so being vacant for 25 years is not uncommon. I understand that the developer needs to make money, but I can't see that that may be overriding for the benefit of the community. I think that the lots, if you look at the property next door, Rio Estates, they put in fewer homes with bigger lots, and evidently they felt that was appropriate and could make money there. And they must have felt that the developer felt that they could have succeeded making, at making a profit at that. The lots could be bigger. They could echo the same size as Rio Estates. I sometimes question the reality of putting in a homeowners association in parks. Maybe it could be bigger lots and no homeowners association. That would be affordable, because one of the problems with people who have affordable housing is paying monthly dues to maintain all of that common area. And there are parks nearby. So I understand the reasoning, but I've seen what happens over the years to developments of this size and houses of this size. I happen to live in a neighborhood where houses are approximately like this at Desert Harbor, and I have, always wished that they had reconsidered the zoning there and in other places. And I understand all of the reasons for it, but I think the lots could be bigger. They could sacrifice 3 or 4 lots, make the lots bigger, cut down some of the open spaces, maybe do away with the homeowners association, et cetera. So I still am going to say no.
Thank you, Commissioner Condi. Ms. Ernst, have we received any speaker request forms on this? Okay, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add based on Commissioner Conti's statements?
Thank you, Vice Chair, for that opportunity. I did just want to say that we did start with a land plan that had more lots, and as is always the case when you get into engineering and working through the comments with staff, we did lose ultimately on our overall lot count. And when you have to, in a PAD, when you're providing the open space that you mentioned and providing for the elevated design, to Commissioner Aluski's point, there's only so much you can do before you get priced out of the ability to sell the homes. And we do have a really great track record along Olive that Garrett Walker Homes is building. This is going to put them on the north side of Olive, in addition to their 2 subdivisions on the south side. And so you can see the level of homes that they're building, those examples in Olive Park. You will see some of those same models in this project. And I think that what we hear, the feedback that we get from the community is that it's very well received. They're really nice looking. They've got a lot of architectural features, and that's the benefit in this case of we do have the home builder here. It's not a mystery as what this is going to be. With that, thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, Commissioner Grice, you had a comment or question?
Yes, before you. Can you tell me how many lots are less than 6,000 square feet in this plan?
Well, the minimum lot size that we are requesting is 45 feet wide and 115 deep. And so that would be the minimum. Now, the plat that is in with the city now does have a significant amount of those lots that are at that 5,175 square foot minimum. However, there are a number that are over that as well. The largest lot within the project is 8,088 square feet. So they range from 5,175, there's 6,000, oh, pardon me, there's a 9,040 square foot lot. So there's actually a range. It's not every single lot that's 5,175.
But you don't have the exact count.
I can give you the count, I just can't see very well. And then again, this is the PAD establishes the minimums, the plat establishes what those actual sizes are. I apologize, give me a minute, I can count them up. Thirty-three of the lots are less than 5,000 square feet, and the remaining 8 are above it. And again, that's a function of when you have the streets that have to turn, and we have to have a width for knuckles, and we have to have this diagonal line that we're dealing with, there's just only so many different ways that you can lay this out to have streets that are big enough for fire and public services. So that's where we could maximize the lot sizes, we did. You're welcome.
Commissioner Conti?
I'm looking at the infill property map that has in color, and then I have Bowman Consulting, which is a black and white map, and they're very different. Which one is the correct one?
The one on your screen currently is the layout, the same layout. It's just the rendered version.
Well, but the one on that I see on Bowman, that has 5 lots that are backing to Olive, and then the ones that are labeled 6 through 20 are all pretty much the same size and go straight up. And so I'm just curious to how that is. And also, yeah, that's when I think there is an extra lot in this one. They're 39, and I think that the other one was 38. So you're saying that the one that's here that says Bowman Consulting site plan with aerial overlay, that one is not correct.
From your staff report, Appendix B, Sheet 1, reflects 38 lots. It's the one that reflects 38 lots that's correct.
Commissioner Conde, maybe I can help too. So you might be referring to an exhibit towards the end of the report that's attached with the public participation plan. And
Yeah, it's
that's,
the very
that
last
shows
page.
39 lots, so it's been
Yep.
revised since then.
That was, thank you, Chris. Yes, that was a former plan, and that was one that had an additional lot. That lot is gone. It's 38 lots.
Okay, so there are only 8 lots that are over the minimum, right?
No, there are actually more than that. The question for me was how many lots are less than 6,000 square
Okay,
feet, I thought?
6,000.
Right. So there's a number of them that are more than 5,175, and between that and 6,000.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions? And we have no speaker request forms, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Any further questions or comments from commissioners before we take action on case Z17-18? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve and recommend City Council approval for item 2R, Z1718, as presented, of course, subject to the conditions outlined in staff report.
Motion by Commissioner Otluski. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Commissioner Grace has seconded the motion. I'm now going to ask everybody to please vote. And it passes 3 votes yes, 1 vote no. Thank you, commissioners. Next agenda item is call to the public. Are there any comments from the public on non-agenda items? I would bet not. Is that, do I not hear? Okay, hearing none. Let's move on to our next item, updates from staff. Does the staff have anything to report tonight?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, no report tonight. I think we're just showing the upcoming meetings, of course, March 1st being the next meeting on the calendar.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Next item is reports and updates from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Do any commissioners have anything to report tonight? All right, seeing none, seeing no further business, I call this meeting adjourned.